totally random, by the way, like not related at all to what we're talking about broadly. I just have to say, one of my favorite World War II anecdotes is the fact that, and this is real, the Germans were explaining to the Japanese how the Jews controlled the world, about how they're like an evil race of all powerful, like they manipulate the banks, they control the world economy, so on and so forth. And the Japanese were like, they sound like they would make powerful allies. And we're like, wow, you know, like fascinating. We must seek to, yeah. You gotta love the Japanese fact. It's rational. They didn't have the same derangement about Jews because, you know, that wasn't their brand of fascism, right? So they were just like, oh, wow. Okay, because it probably would have happened the other way too, where the Japanese would have said some shit like, yeah, like Oni spirits like wander the forests, you know, 12 feet tall with their clubs, they fell many a soldier. And the Germans would be like, 12-foot tall club-wielding spirits. Ah, very good. We must reach out to contact them immediately. You know, with their like obsession with esotericism. I don't. The Aryans, Hyperborea is real. You know, and it's in Ainu territory. Yeah, like that would be okay. Thought. I know it's. I know it wouldn't be good. However, kind of a buddy cop dynamic, right? Like an imperial investigator from the Japanese and a Nazi investigator working together just because they're both obsessed with finding and allying with the others, like esoteric ancient historical threat, whether it be like the imagined JQ version of Jewish people or like, you know, spirits or river dragons or whatever. That would be so good. Oh, that would be so, oh my God, that'd be good. If you had something like that hit the tone of like It's Always Sunny, like just so straightforwardly comedic that nobody could possibly like LARP about how it's based in Red Pill or whatever, that would be a banger right there. That would be a, oh my God, 50 Emmys. We'd get that. Can you imagine the Japanese investigator meeting a Jewish guy and getting really, really excited, and then the Nazis like sulking in the other room because like, the Japanese guy's like, no, I got this guy. Like interviewing him, like, okay, how many banks do you control? Just like, just, all right, be very good. Have you watched Fallout yet? No, I haven't. Japanese fascism was more rooted in the IJA having extreme paranoia about Western invasion. Yeah. It was a different brand of fascism, right? Like fascism can be built from a lot of sources, even though there tend to be like similarities in its construction. The like founding myth or the source of the paranoia kind of varies, you know. In the wiki article, literally in the memoranda, quote, thus gaining the benefit of the supposed economic prowess of the Jews and also convincing the United States, specifically American Jewry. Jesus Christ. That's so funny. Literally. Memoranda written in the 1930s Imperial Japan proposed settling Jewish refugees in Japanese-controlled territory. As interpreted by Marvin Tokayer and Schwartz, that was used by the Japanese to describe this plan, they proposed large number of refugees be encouraged to settle in Manchukuo, or Japan-occupied Shanghai, thus gaining the benefit of the supposed economic prowess of the Jews, specifically American Jewry, to grant political favor and economic investment into Japan. Oh my God. The idea was partly based on the acceptance of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion as a genuine document by at least part of the Japanese leadership, but rather than arousing hatred of Jews, the intended effect of the protocols, they actually caused the Japanese to consider the Jews as powerful potential allies for Japan. Fuck, it's so funny. It's like Jojo Rabbit shit, fully. It's insane. The detailed scheme included how the settlement would be organized and how Jewish support in terms of investment in actual settlers would be garnered. In June and July 1939, the memoranda, concrete measures to be employed to turn friendly to Japan, the public opinion, Far East diplomatic policy, close circle of President of the United States by manipulating influential Jews in China, and the study analysis of introducing Jewish capital came to be reviewed and approved by top Japanese officials in China. Methods of attracting both Jewish and American favor were to include the sending of a delegation to the United States to introduce American rabbis to the similarities between Judaism and Shinto, and the bringing of rabbis back to Japan in order to introduce them and their religion to the Japanese. Methods were also suggested for gaining the favor of American journalism in Hollywood. Oh my fucking god! Yeah, we're in a worse timeline fully. Oh my god. The Japanese officials asked to approve this plan insisted that while the settlements may appear autonomous, controls needed to be placed to keep the Jews under surveillance. It was feared that Jews might somehow penetrate into the mainstream Japanese government and economy, influencing or taking command of it the same way that they, according to the forged protocols of the Elders of Zion, had done in many other countries. They're powerful allies, but crafty. We must watch them carefully. They're too powerful. Just a bunch of confused rabbis like wandering around Japanese-controlled Shanghai with like 50 agents of the emperor like stalking their every move. Oh my god, guys, TV, come on, find me a better slice of history. Is this actually positive racism? The funny thing is, glittering positive, and I'm not joking, this is actually the reason this is so funny and the reason this is so rare is because this is the closest thing that I can think of as an example of unbiased, rational, racist behavior. In that if you do believe all that shit about Jewish people, the rational response to it would be to go, oh, wow, powerful allies. The same way that you would think, oh, the like shogunate over the mountain is like very powerful, you know, we must ally with them. Like it's an indication of what it looks like, I guess, when you have all of the empirical or descriptive beliefs of racism, but none of the normative beliefs. Does that make sense? Like you have all of the quote unquote facts that the racist has, but none of their pre-existing hatred or bias, meaning that you approach it from like the, oh wow, they sound powerful, you know? It's and the reason this is so uncommon is because this almost never happens. Like almost never, you know? Almost always like the quote-unquote factual beliefs are paired directly with all of the like hatred and so on and so forth, you know? Yeah. Crazy shit. Goku showing up. Hey, I heard you Jews are pretty powerful. Want to spar? You're so getting canceled. But nothing that I've said here is either objectionable or wrong. I think if anything, it's a powerful reminder of the fact that so much of racism is not the so-called like descriptive belief, right? For example, even if you were to take all of the so-called descriptive facts that a racist American white person had about black people. Let's say everything that racist white people said about black people was true. Whatever you want to imagine there, you know, a less intelligent, whatever, like less intelligent, violent, whatever. If you had all of those facts in mind, but then you had none of the pre-existing bias, wouldn't the rational response be the just general humanist, let's try to give everyone the best life possible? Like you wouldn't actually, because if you were like, because you can do that today, because white racists will do this with people who are themselves as an individual not as intelligent or more prone to violence or whatever, right? Like for instance, men are significantly more prone to violence than women, one. And two, a lot of the populations that white racists recruit from, like rural white populations, are pretty dumb, like IQ-wise, right? But they don't suggest any of those people be excised from the country, because to those people, they have the descriptive facts, violence, low IQ, but they don't have any of the associated hate. They don't have any of the bias. I think it's just important to remember that the vast majority of what it means to be like a racist isn't factual description of how X or Y is, but rather the hatred or bias. Think of misogyny. Men and women on average are different, and a lot of those differences are, yeah, biological for most people, right? You could even make some like abstract like arguments about like the sort of like maybe women are more prone to being like weepy emotional and men are more prone to being violent emotional, so maybe men make better soldiers on average. I think even if you got rid of all gender and all gender bias, there'd still probably be more biologically male people in like construction or doing like military work, because it's just involves a lot of testosterone and physical labor, you know? I just think on average you would still see a disproportionate bias there. But you could accept all of those facts and not be sexist, right? Then you take a look at what sexists are like, and the mental state of a sexist isn't really a product of their acknowledgement of biological differences. It's a product of their hatred, their disgust at women, like their insane insecurity as men, right? So again, the key element of bigotry is the irrationality, the bias, not any so-called factual belief. And that's why this like Japanese like nearly worship of Jewish people is so funny, because it's an exceedingly rare instance where you have a disconnect between the so-called empirics of the matter and the bias. It's very rare that you see this, incredibly rare. It's so rare that it's comedic, you know? Where does that hate come from? Fear and insecurity, usually. Ignorance, too. Well, I'd say that feeds the fear, but yeah. I wonder if they got even a single rabbi out to occupied China. Jewish representation in anime? Yeah, it exists. I mean, I'm not like... Oh, really? Wait, is this article from animefeminist.com? Is this article arguing is this guy called the Führer or the Kaiser? I forget which. He has a sussy title. What's he referred to as again? The Führer, yeah. Very on the nose there. You know, one thing that really sucks is I feel like it's really difficult to get open Jewish representation in any media outside of, like, sitcoms. Because there are a ton of sitcoms where it's like one guy is the wacky Jewish character. But in a lot of other media, it feels like any overtly Jewish traits are basically just fodder for anti-Semitism. Because, like, for instance, even though there's a ton of racism directed against black people, like, no doubting that, right? There are also plenty of really cool and respectful depictions of black people and black culture, like, everywhere. There's anime with it, too, right? You know, it's pretty, not, I shouldn't say universal, but it's like widespread, you know. I don't really know what like an overt celebration of Jewish culture would look like in a kind of like, in a bunch of other settings outside of just like the comedy sitcom format where, you know, they can make the like self-debasing jokes or whatever. That's a sick name, Sleepy Joe Biden. Being an amazing baker. Do Jewish people bake good? I thought the most famous bread for Jewish people, it literally is unleavened. Wouldn't Jewish people be bad at baking bread because it's flat? Oh shit, you're right, bagels. I was thinking matzah. Yeah, that too. Challah? Isn't it matzah? Am I thinking of something else? Braided bread? Oh, that shit slaps. That shit is so good. I thought you were saying that I was like mispronouncing matzah or something. The like flatbread that you eat for Passover. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is that we need, like, a shonen anime, or, like, a seinen anime, where the main character is Jewish in a very over-the-top way. Because you have that for everything else, right? Like, you can have an over-the-top celebration of black culture, like in A Dude's a Samurai, or Latin culture, or Asian culture, obviously, samurai from Japan, you know, whatever. But, like, where's the, like, Jewish samurai, you know? You can have, like, Christian, like, cool, like, Christian crusader dudes being all actiony, right? You could have, like, you know, like Islamic, you know, like sort of, what is there a Islamic term for like a soldier? Like crusader I associate with Christians. I wouldn't say jihad because you're not always in a holy war. What would the term be for like an honorable knight of an Islamic faith? Ghazi? Is that it? Hold on. Individual military unit, warrior, or champion from the Islamic realms. Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you. Yeah, you have that. I don't know what the equivalent would be for, like, Jewish people. You know, they need, like, their own samurai, is what I'm saying, basically. I saw this art recently. Hold on, let me find it. From somebody who does, like, Islamic-themed, over-the-top fantasy art. That's pretty cool. I don't know if stuff like this really exists for, like, Jewish mythology. I'm sure it does. Like, somebody out there is drawing it. Who hasn't heard of the Fiddler on the Roof? Fiddler on the Roof is not a seinen anime. So close. Why do we want a glorification of religious warriors? Because it's cool, obviously. Don't be ridiculous. Yeah, the problem with that depiction, Vor 467, is that it's 2,500 years ago, right? I'm thinking of, like, something more modern. Seinen, not seinen? Seinen? I've heard seinen before. Wasn't Isaac from Castlevania Muslim? He was Muslim-coded, wasn't he? At the very least. It's seinen? Ah, well. Taking my whiteness away from me, I see how it is. The Janissaries weren't religious warriors, they were slave soldiers. And very good special units in Age of Empires 2, if you remember. Low accuracy, but whoo dilly, do those guns hurt. Whoo boy. And they had drip? Yeah, but we were talking about the Jewish warriors. But like modern Jewish warriors, you know? But yeah, they did have drip. Nobody dresses like this anymore. Truly, men's fashion is dead. Did you try Age of Empires 4? It's really fun. No.